When we say that this entire world is a tree, we say Vasudhaiva Kutumbam, the entire, all the leaves, all the branches, everything got burnt, except the main trunk of the tree is still alive. When we say, India is the trunk, and when we say whole world is the branches of this trunk. So 90% of the tree got burnt, and only this trunk is alive now because of the effort of these 5 to 6 organizations, or I can say hundreds and thousands of Swamijis since 2000 years. We teach them yoga. It is a yoga center, but underlying small capsule will be there. A very small capsule will be there with some important Gita shlokas. How to raise your children without depression, how to make your children go-getters like Arjuna, how to do, how to live together despite of the differences between wife and husband, irrespective of, the incompatibilities you both have, and then how to overcome the depression in life, whether a small boy or and any person, how to overcome old age. This dharma, every Hindu, whoever can afford even 1 rupee to any amount, even 1 rupee every month, should support any organization, not only Gita University.
Namaste and welcome to Sangam Talks. So today we have part 2 in the series of the Gita University talks that we have been having with Esther ji, and today we are joined by Anand Reddy ji. So today's topic is Gita University, a project for global peace. So is there a link between global peace and the Bhagavad Gita? The founder director of Gita University answers this and other questions, like how this project is different from other pioneering projects like ISKCON's, and what is the Karma Yoga. So with that, I hand it over to Anandji and Esther ji to give an introduction. And I have a few questions which I'll ask a little later.
Namaste, everybody. My name is Anand Reddy. I am basically a structural engineer, and I've done my master's in structural engineering. And then I have an institute where we teach civil and mechanical engineers on computer-aided design. Basically, I'm a structural software trainer since 1994, and so I'm into business basically. And then I started, quest for God. Since my childhood, it's a long story. Because I'm, my age is 52. Now, so I can say it is a 52 years story. But I started reading, many books from Ramakrishna, Math, and even Bible, even Quran. And then I came to Upanishads, and then finally I was not satisfied with the content. It's not like content is bad. I took whatever is good from everything. But if at all God has a mouth, and then if he speaks something, then I thought it should be of some great standards. Then at the age of my 30, then it happened to open Bhagavad Gita, and then started reading. And then, every shloka, what I've seen in Gita, I thought that this is the perfect word of God. If at all God says something, He is not a human being, it's a big energy. It's a Maha Chaitanya. Where, when we take ourselves as Chaitanya, it's a Maha Chaitanya which embeds all of us within that. So, if at all He talks in a human language, it is very interesting for me. Like God talking itself is a strange thing for me, which I can, never imagine basically. A person who is commissioning these millions and millions of infinite galaxies coming and talking is something, miraculous. That itself is a miracle. So the words and sentences also must be equal to that, power and strength. So I happened to read Gita, at the age of 30 approximately, and then I found that this is the book for me. Then from there on, I studied for about 10, 15 years, continuously. And then with the help of many gurus, where I see on YouTube and all, I tried to understand more, and so And finally, I always feel that why such a great science? When we see, any other religion, why such a great science is just limited to hardly 10% of the world's population. So, this is what, surprised me and shocked me. Then I started thinking, what could be the reasons? I can't say that these are the specific reasons, because, I cannot do a study unless or otherwise I've got some miraculous powers. What went wrong since 5,000 years? I cannot say that this is, but I've understood what could be the wrong. I can say that it is not taken in the way it is supposed to be taken. I don't blame anybody for that, but as a teacher, teaching structures for about 20, 25 years, 25, 30 years, I felt that it should be taken properly. And if it is taken properly, people will love it. People will definitely love it. See, when people are liking something which is hardly 1% to the taste of Bhagavad Gita, when I give them something which is 100 times more tastier, then they would naturally love it. So I have that confidence on human beings that they love something good. Definitely, if it is taken properly, even good needs to be marketed properly. So when bad is being marketed with a lot of marketing strategies since 2000, 3000 years, I felt that somewhere in the marketing strategies, if at all I call, so in the Kali Yuga, even the Satya, that is the truth, needs to be marketed. That is how the Kali Yuga works. But maybe in other yugas, people will come to Satya. But in Kali Yuga, somewhere I feel the Satya should also go to people. I think that is where we failed. And then I started thinking for about 5 to 10 years how we can take this when 90% of the world is having rigid and frozen minds. Their minds are frozen. People are not ready, they don't have that open heart of listening things when we take it as a religion, basically. So I thought it should be taken in a different way, and with the kind of understanding that I have on human beings, I made a project, and then I wanted to really stick to that and take like-minded people across the world, and then take this to at least 50% of the world in the coming 30 years. That is how it is.
Okay, I'd like to add here that teaching Gita is not new to Anandji. As a trainer of structural engineering and living in a place like Hyderabad, which is a cosmopolitan city, so his students had been both Christians and Muslims. And he always had, at the end of the module, at the end of the training, the last module included teaching of Gita. So would you like to talk about that, Anandji?
So, after I read Gita, I started teaching, I used to teach structures for about 30 days. At the end of my class, I used to take one class for 3 hours on Bhagavad Gita. I used to have people from almost all the states of India, and more than 50% of my students are from Muslim community. And if I have a class of 50, 60, some 10, 15 people will be from other countries like Afghanistan and Sudan and African countries who are also Muslims. All the 60 students in my class, being more than 50% students are Muslims, they used to sit and listen in a very disciplined way for about 3 hours. Without being, getting agitated. What is this? We have joined for Start Pro or for ETABS. Why are you teaching all these things? Okay, they never got agitated. 50% of the reason is because they know how I taught my subject. They get some respect on that. And then, and also the way I teach them, not as the name of God or form of God, but something like, moral science or the way you have to do karma. So I used to put it in a very simplest way, with some kind of, a small element of fear used to be there, like, how these people would react. But, somehow I used to overcome that, and, somehow I used to feed them, like, it is like as good as feeding, a tiger. So, but I've managed it somehow. And almost for a decade, in none of my classes, I got some, opposition or some bad remark on that. That has given me a biggest motivation. So I thought we can do this. It's not, I will do this to the entire world. There'll be a lot of gurus for that. I'm not a professional Gita teacher, but I love teaching. So that has motivated me. So that's how it is.
Yeah, let me sum up this entire journey of Anandji. To this day, I mean, even on the Gita project, our musician is a hardcore Christian. The person that composes the music for our Gita content. And we have a Muslim couple working with us, sitting right here in this office every single day and working on all these things. So you can analyze by that the kind of the approach that we take to taking Gita into the world.
So the first question I want to ask is that your whole objective for the Mission 5 Billion project is to bring about global peace through Gita. Now, how is Gita linked with global peace? And is it a legit statement, or are you trying to impose Indian values on the globe on the pretext of global peace, which is the desire of all countries today?
Yeah, I'll take this question. When we say Bhagavad Gita, there is nothing like India or Africa or America. There is nothing like human beings or donkeys or pigs or lizard or anything. It is only the Sat and Asat. And it is only, we are here, in a body because of our karma, past life karma. We got bandi in this body. And then, if at all we follow the principle of karma, karma, we get liberated. That means if we do some, things detached, then, if at all we follow dharma, we get uttama gatis, better body, better life, better material desires. So for these principles, these are not concerned with the time or country or religion or race. This is beyond everything. It is for every living species. But we cannot teach this to other species because they are not Buddhist species. They are just like they just live with the body. So this is for all human beings, and it is utter disaster and failure of restricting this to only India. Somehow this was there, I believe 4,000 years back, all over the world, we call pagan religions or whatever it is. So all over the world before 4,000 years. But for some reason, maybe for the good being silent or for the good people being content, the adharmic religion or Avedic religions, or I can say evil theories. I don't say evil religions, evil theories. Some damn insane primitive theories got cooked up, and they started marketing in a big way. So somehow things got messed up. Now coming to the global peace, now we have seen, if you take any WhatsApp of any Hindu or any Muslim or any Christians, you take any Hindu cell phone, every day we are getting hundreds and hundreds of messages that we are right. See the kind of genocide that they have done in Kashmir. And if you happen to open the cell phone of a Muslim, they will have tons and tons of information that we are idiots. You open the WhatsApp of any Christian, they will have messages that whatever they are doing, whatever they are following is absolutely right, and all others are wrong. And everybody is believing with conviction that they are right, others are wrong. So somehow, because of lack of dialogue between two people on what is Sat and what is Asat, like how Adi Shankaracharya did, that was lacking, all these 1,000, 2,000 years, which has brought us at this situation. So when there is so much venom, even now going on in this country or any other country, as a matter of fact, what is the ultimate solution, sustainable solution? One way, we can pick up idiots in whatever religion they are, and then we can curb them, or we can kill them, or we can punish them if they're doing bad. The highest restrictions from the government, we can get peace, but that peace is not sustainable. See, you cannot have venom, inside the hearts of people with the law and order, with the acts, with the kind of rules we have basing on our constitution. We cannot make people love each other. So at some point, down the line, they will get erupted like volcanoes. What happened in Kashmir? So it should be cleaned, within the hearts of people. So somehow or other, we have to address this at the core root level. And unless or otherwise these people understand that other person and me are same, we are of same form living in two bodies, and all these beliefs or disbeliefs or whatever it is, theories will be based on our past life karma. And if at all we don't teach this, there cannot be peace. Peace may be there, but it is not sustainable peace. We may be acting as if peace is there. Now today the situation is such in this country or any other country. Two people of two, like people of two different religions cannot sit and talk. It is next to impossible. They cannot talk for half an hour. They cannot even have a kind of discussion on religion. The religion is made such a personal thing. We say religion is personal. It is not personal. It is completely public. We are just acting, having a big elephant in the room. We are ignoring the elephant and we are just acting. Because of this acting since thousands of years, I don't know how many years, we started acting as if it's personal, while it is not personal. And then it has led to so much chaos. So I believe that peace, sustainable peace, is possible only with the knowledge of self, that we all are same in the base level, in the base level, our needs, our thoughts, our desires, our wish. Everybody wants to be happy. Having said this, we have to make them understand their real self. So otherwise, they may act as if there is peace, but there will not be peace.
Set forth in the Gita, and Gita being the sar of Vedas and Upanishads, it has been brought down to a very understandable level. So this knowledge of self. So how this knowledge of self can be gained has been suggested in the Bhagavad Gita. So that is why Bhagavad Gita, in simpler terms.
Thank you, Estherji and Anandji. Now I'll ask you a very basic and a layman question. So the counter that comes from mostly the Abrahamics that would come is that the Gita is set in a setting of a battlefield. And it is about a whole battle where somebody is urging someone to go and do a battle. So it led to mass scale, a kind of people being wiped out. So how can you link it to global peace? Now, this is a very layman question that I'm asking, which might come many a time.
Yeah, I'll tell you. See, Lord Krishna said, if a person is an idiot, if a person is very dangerous to the society, he may be a king or certain sect of people. If you first try to negotiate with them, like even Buddha said that try to have a dialogue with them and then see whether they can be changed. So after repeated dialogue, if the people don't change, see, when there is lot of nuisance created to Draupadi queen itself, the queen itself, they misbehaved. Can you understand and imagine how they would have behaved with other females, other girls in their kingdom under the kingship of Duryodhana? So after negotiations, if things fail, we have to eliminate them. War is inevitable for a king. That is called Dharma Yuddha. It is inevitable. If you keep on excusing idiots, this is the result. Today, across the world, when you don't have the guts to say idiot is an idiot, then the problem will come. Don't reconcile, don't compromise with idiots. They are to be killed. See, you can understand when Lord Krishna said, you kill Bhishma, such a greatest character, just for the reason that he is on the side of Adharma, We have to learn from that. He is one of the greatest character that the world has ever seen, Bhishmacharya. So we should understand that whoever stands by adharma, if they don't stop adharma, if they don't consider the, what do we say, the sandhi of, the Rayabaram that Lord Krishna has taken, war is inevitable. This is what lacking in today's communities. We keep on excusing idiots, idiots, idiots. See, earlier, if you see, let us say 1960, forget about 1947. In 1960, I can say there could be some 10, 15 extremists in this country. Had they been eliminated, eliminated as per our penal code only. Our penal code only, now these 1,000, 2,000 idiots across India wouldn't have come. You know very well, a person who blatantly says, give me 15 minutes, we are 20, 25 crores, we will see what we will do with 100 crores. That person is still a hero. He is still roaming on the roads. I say, even if that guy is from any religion, please understand the spirit of Lord Krishna is lacking. Such persons should be killed. War, it is dharma kshetra, war is inevitable. If you don't wage a war, Lord Krishna says you will incur a sin. You will incur a sin. See, when you wage a war on adharmic people, idiots, otherwise, problems will come. So, dharma yuddha is always right. That is what is lacking now in this country and across the world. So, that battlefield doesn't matter. It is a war between idiots and pious people and then good people. But when you see the content of Bhagavad Gita, the 700 slokas, maybe some 10, 15 times he will say, do war, so wage war. So, get up Arjuna, Uttishta, and then just do war. War can be understood now is the battle that we all have with the life. War doesn't mean that, take weapons. Remaining 650, 670 shlokas, there is no mention of a war. It is just doing a duty. It is the complete knowledge of who we are, why we are here, and how to get liberated. Or if you have a dharmic life, if you are doing a sakama karma with attachment, that is also good. Lord Krishna will tell, don't confuse them. Let them do, good works. Slowly they will come to karma yoga, from sakama karma. So war is not a crime. War is required.
So Anandji, before I move to the next question, I want to know that when the Dwapar Yug ended, and then we move towards the Kali Yuga. So what is there in the Gita that Sri Krishna says about the Kali Yuga and how important it is to do an adhyan of the Gita in today's Kali Yuga?
He says that, in chapter number 18, between shloka 65 to 75, he says, take this Gita Jnana to everybody, but don't take, Gita to people who doesn't have interest, who don't have respect on me. So he gives certain conditions, people who don't want to listen and all. But he says, among all the people who I love most, he says that I like the people who takes this Gita Jnana to others. And he says that, there is none other, than him, where I love more than him. So other than this last 3-4 slokas of he asking people to take Gita to the world and don't teach that to idiots who don't have that logical mind, because some people are cursed people. In some 2-3 slokas he says that people who don't use brain in their last life, he will naturally remove that brain chip. See, God has given that logic. You prefer not to use it. When you prefer not to use it, there is no point in giving that in the next life, because all these body parts are logic, are devata swarupas for us. That devata will withdraw. So there is a devata for logic also, and the devata will withdraw because that logical mind is not respected. So that is how it is.
Also, when I've read whatever I've read about the Gita Anandji, so it also points out a lot of anger management, personality development. All these techniques are also mentioned in the Gita for practical purpose also.
He
Also, there's
says
one.
that, yeah, yeah, he says that kama yesha, krodha yesha. These are two things. If you can work on your anger and work on your desires, then all your problems will be solved. But working on them needs to be done in a persistent basis. But anger should be there on adharma. So anger should be there on right things. We have anger on non-issues or unnecessary issues today. We don't have anger on the right issues. We feel for the things unnecessarily for which is where there's no point in that. And wherever big things are there, see, if at all somebody is pinching me, I get a lot of anger. But if somebody is trying to kill me, I ignore. This is the pathetic situations of common Indian. So we are not anticipating, we are not realizing the danger of dharma, not as a religion. Dharma means it is the place and world for the good people. Unless or otherwise good people are united, unless or otherwise good people have that anger in them, we cannot counter these idiots. So there are a lot of things, as you said, to control anger, to control the desires, and it is a slow process. It will take some 2 3 lives to overcome all those things, because in this Kali Yuga we see lot of people who are eccentric people, who are skewed people. We naturally get anger. So as long as the anger goes off in 5 10 minutes, that anger is okay. But we should not sit on anger for days together. So that's how it is.
So,
Essence.
just to add to that, a part of our goal is to teach Gita to the CEOs of companies, bureaucrats, and politicians. So, what is common in all these people? Anger, arrogance, desire. So Gita has, why Gita? So, which is why teach Gita to these categories, and why teach only Gita to these categories of our population? One, because they are leaders in some capacity. And when the leaders of a country, regardless of the nation, when the leaders of the company of a country are able to control these three things, so automatically there will be harmonious communities within those countries. And how do they reach there? How do they control these things? Through the teachings of the Gita, like you just said. So there are so many lessons on personality development. There are so many lessons on anger management. So all that is possible, again, with the knowledge of the self. Who am I? And how am I related to this employee of mine who works for just peanuts every month? How am I related to this to the citizens that I lead, to the citizens that I govern? So when that realization of self and the relationship of the self with the larger community is known, I think that makes a lot of difference. So, which is why Gita. So, like I said, Gita gives you the knowledge of the self in very, simple language, in a very, very simple language.
So, Anandji and Estherji, how are you going to be different than other organizations that have already made attempts to spread the message of the Gita in the world? Do you think the world will accept Gita on the scale that you intend?
When you see, there are many organizations, I can say 5 to 6 big organizations are there who have been doing tremendous work, which we cannot say in words. Lot of energy, lot of resources, lot of thinking went behind I can say in the past 100 years by many people, by many saints, thousands of years. That is why when we say that this entire world is a tree, we say Vasudhaiva Kutumbam. The entire all the leaves, all the branches, everything got burnt. except the main trunk of the tree is still alive. When we say, India is the trunk, and when we say whole world is the branches of this trunk. So 90% of the tree got burnt, and only this trunk is alive now because of the effort of these 5 to 6 organizations, or I can say hundreds and thousands of Swamijis since 2000 years. Their continuous effort in this country. So India is still, I can say, 65% of the people are there who are, on the side of the dharmic religion. That is the religion of peace. If at all we call it as a religion, as how others are calling, but I don't call that. So all these people, they started their organizations worldwide, and though it is not a religion, but the way they are taking currently is like a religion only. They have all the pictures. They teach Gita straight away, all the shlokas, or they teach Upanishads or Vedas or what, all the mantras, everything. They take it, as it is way, in the exact way. And then people who have that, inquisitiveness of learning something Indian, then they will come and they will learn. But it has not, made the final result of, the efforts of all these people. If it is, if it is foolproof, if it is perfect, then 90% of the world should be following Sanatana Dharma by now. But somehow, though these theories are right, everything is right, but somewhere in the approach, I don't say they are wrong. There should be alternate methods of approach. If some 5 people are doing things in that way, they should do in that way only. They should not change. But there should be, tens of organizations across the world who does things in a different way to what they are doing. See, if at all 6th person or 7th person comes and does the thing in the same way that other 5 are doing, then naturally the same result will come. And I think we, by the way the evil is multiplying, slowly we'll become minority. 100% world has become 10% now, following Dharma, and it will become 2%, 1%, and finally it will die. So maybe the end of Kali Yuga. But somehow things should be done in a different way. So we feel that we are different in the approach. We are not taking that as a religion. We are taking in a very subtle way where we teach them yoga. It is a yoga center, but underlying small capsule will be there. A very small capsule will be there with some important Gita shlokas. If you can see our brochure, we teach the children. There are paid services and there are free services. Paid services are like yoga, meditation. All these are paid services. Free services is how to raise your children without depression, how to make your children go-getters like Arjuna, how to do, how to live together despite of the differences between wife and husband, irrespective of, the incompatibilities you both have, and then how to overcome the depression in life, whether, a small boy or, and, any person, how to overcome, old age. Old age, old people, here in India, they understand it is karma, and then they will go away. They will come back as a new body. Here, old age is not, a big curse for people who understand Bhagavad Gita. They love to leave the body just like that because they'll be much more interested to leave the body. If you remove the pain of, old age, if at all there is any pain because of any hospitalization or treatment, leave that. But otherwise, they love to exit the body, because they know that if they exit the body, they're getting relieved from this plane, and then they will come back based on their karma. But imagine if a person believes that there is only one life, and if he is leaving, he doesn't understand where he is. People say that he'll be on the grave only, resting in peace. Somebody will come and lift him up after thousands and thousands of years. So all these souls are in the graves only. Since 2000 years, they're waiting that somebody will come and lift them up with the bones and flesh. Nothing is happening since 2000 years. Nobody is coming and lifting them, but still they are waiting. and see the pathetic stage before death. They will be in the grave, in the box, resting in peace. They really don't know what is happening, what happens to them. So, it is a horrible life. When we can address the children's problem, the family's problem through Gita capsules with some 30, 40 shlokas of Gita, give them the taste of Bhagavad Gita in their personal lives where they see the benefit. Their children should see the benefit and should study well after teaching some 15, 20 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. And then this married couple, if they're fighting with each other, these people should be able to counsel, giving the knowledge of the self, and then they should be able to live happily. We should be able to counsel old people that it is no problem. They can exit their bodies with dignity, not with fear. If you can tell them, if you can show Gita as a solution for each and every age people. See, some people will be, in business, they'll get loss, profits, loss, profit. If you can tell these business people that, this is what life is, you will get sukh, dukkha will be there, sitoshna, sukh, dukkha are, quite common. You have to bear them, you have to tolerate them. And, if you can teach that samatva buddhi rupa yoga, that is the pinnacle of, karma yoga, then they will have peace of mind. So these 30, 40 shlokas, when we teach them as a solution to them, then naturally, after 30 days or 40 days or after 1 year, then they will come to satsang again, and then they will tell that, I want to learn entire Bhagavad Gita. So full Bhagavad Gita will come there when they come voluntarily with, when they feel the benefit of it. So first, initially, it will be given as a solution right from a small boy to a person who is going to die in few days. It is a solution to their feelings, basically. Not solution to their business, We are not going to give them rings and all, and, all that stuff, Rudraksha and all. We will give them solution through Gita. And then, with, they can definitely feel that Shanti. They can definitely feel the solution even if they don't get success in life. Even if they, get divorced also, they can live happily. They can respect each other even after divorce. So things will be peaceful. Then at the second stage, they will come and learn Gita. So it is a subtle way of taking Gita. In that way, we are completely different to others because we don't take the name of God initially. We don't say Lord Krishna or whatever it is. We tell them the tattva. See, when I give you an orange or apple, is there a point in arguing what is the name of this fruit for hours together? It is enough if I can give that fruit and ask you to eat it, whatever may be the name of that fruit, then you get some vitamins and then you get some energy and then you'll be feeling happy about that. So we are going to give the tattva. Then if they like it, then we will,
We met.
yeah. So that way we are different.
Thank you, Anandji. And also this one life and, you only live once, YOLO and all these things that are circulated around these abbreviations. It is the reason for this whole exploitation of the nature and earth because you're not going to come back. So do whatever you have to do in this. So there are many schools in Hinduism like Dvait, Advait, Vishishta Advait. What school of thought are you going to view and understand the Gita through and why?
I'll tell you honestly. In fact, I try to understand the difference between these three by watching some YouTube videos from elders and Swamijis and people who met me. I've tried to, ask them and what is the difference. They told me that this is the difference, this is the difference, and this is the difference. But the difference, whatever they have said, has not attracted me, and I felt it is unnecessary and also nonsensical and also primitive to me. Bhagavad Gita in different shlokas endorses all school of thoughts. So when we read Bhagavad Gita, I think we will go beyond these three school of thoughts. We will go beyond this question. But broadly to answer, if at all I say relative sense, I follow, It is not like I say, we'll not follow others. But basically, the foundation will be Adi Shankaracharya Bhashya of Bhagavad Gita. So because you call it Dvaita or Advaita or Vishishta Advaita, the Gita Bhashya will be Adi Shankaracharya Bhashya, but we will take the Bhashyas of other people also, as long as it aligns with Adi Shankaracharya Bhashya. But we are beyond this question. So, we are not too particular on this. That's how it is. We respect all the Bhashyas, all the schools, with all love and respect on them. Everybody has worked a lot and they have, proposed their theories. So that's how it is.
So Anandji and I have a lot of discussions on these schools and all that. Of course, this is a philosophical environment in our office, and I mean, I can't call this an office, by the way. So we have these discussions and all that. So and also my discussions with so many other gurus around me. So we have to understand that it's a journey. Dvaita, Vishishtadvaita, and Advaita. So it's a journey. They're not different from each other. They're just phases. So that is one point we have understood, and that's the approach we are taking. So everybody begins at a certain point, goes through Dvaita, and via Vishishtadvaita reaches reaches Advaita. So that is the exact approach we'll be following, and this is what we'll be teaching.
Thank you, Estherji and Anandji. So the other question is that you have been talking, Anandji, about teaching the world about principles of dharma and karma. What exactly is karma yoga in brief and in simple terms for the layman to understand?
Now, if you want even the ordinary man to understand the karma yoga, I'll go out of Gita for about 2 minutes. You take any species, birds or animals. You take a bird, it will walk in certain way, it will dance in certain way, it will behave in certain way, and its feathers are designed in certain way, the colors are in certain way. It sings in certain way, and it will build the nest in certain way. Few birds cannot build the nest, and if you take pigeons, they hardly will sit on trees. They love to sit on buildings only. Their mind is like that, or some electrical wires and all. They don't sit on a tree. They don't have those nests on a tree. So you take the behavior of any species, whether small animal or lizard or anything. So if you take like certain species, it is behaving in certain way. When people ask, you show the behavior. Is this species, is this particular bird singing like this? We say no. All the species do like that. So you keep on going from one species to other species, and you ask questions. Is this the greatness of this bird doing this? You see the way it is building its nest. You say no. All the birds will do the same. And woodpecker, it will drill everything and then it makes its house. All the birds of that family, of that breed, will do the same way. So we are telling all those things are doing in the same way. That means their behavior, their attributes, they personally are not responsible. You are getting my point. A particular bird is not responsible by the way it sings or the way it constructs its house. Every bird will do the same. The credit for their activities are not the particular bird. In Prakriti, that Prakriti with their trigunas, they are bound to behave like that. Now, for all the 83,99,999 species, we say that this particular species is not concerned for their karma. There is some power which is making them behave like that, which is making them sing like that, which is making them construct their house like that. Now, come to human beings. You take a girl who is doing Kuchipudi dance. You ask her, whose credit is that? She will say it is my credit. You take a person who is doing, exhibiting certain skill. You ask him, who is responsible for that? He will say, I have done a lot of hard work. It is my credit. You ask any human being, he will say, I am the person behind this. I take the credit. But for other species, he's telling, this bird has no credit. The way it is hunting, the way it is behaving, all it is programmed, and only God is there behind its behavior. But when it comes to human beings, we are falling flat. We are getting that ajnana. And we are taking the credit of that, doing that karma. And when we see, chapter number 18, shlokas 13 and 14, he says that there are, 5 factors which will accomplish by, for any karma. And in 14 or 15, he says that a person who feels that he is behind, all this karma is a fool. In the, 18th chapter. So, we are not behind karma. So, whenever we are doing something, we should feel that there is something behind me. So, we should attribute everything to God. It is like, doing some karma, completely relying on God. We should not take the, credit of that. Like how we talked about other species. Then if you can do without attachment to the karma, then it leads to moksha. When you feel that you are not the doer, you are not the karta, when you don't have the kartrutva bhava, I am doer, when you don't have the feeling, then your karmic debt, that is, we call the cosmic karma phal, will be turned down to ashes. There is no karma phal. There is no reason for taking birth. See, when you take the credit of any karma, when you take the credit, then you have to be born again. And God says in shloka number 12, He says, Ishtam, Anistam, Mishram cha. There are 3 kinds of karma phals. If you do good deeds, you have a better life. You have to, that is bhogatna padega. And if you do bad deeds, you have to have the, face the consequence. If you feel that you have done, you have to have a life. When you feel that I have not done anything, I am not the karta, then there is no cosmic karma phal. You can get liberated if you want. If you want to come again, if you're not able to get detached, even after sadhana also, if you're feeling that you are the doer, if you're not getting convinced that I am not, I'm not the doer, then it will take some 2-3 lives more, and then slowly you can get detached. If a person wishes and does that sadhana. So I am not the doer is the crux of karma yoga, to put that in a simple terms.
सर मेरा प्रश्न ये है कि हम देखते हैं कि देवदत्त पटनायक जी हैं और कुणाल चक्रवर्ती जी हैं, इन लोगों ने भी कुछ अध्ययन किया है और गीता के संदर्भ में कुछ स्वयं पुस्तकें लिखी हैं। देवदत्त पटनायक जी ने पुस्तक लिखी है, एक माई गीता करके शायद एक पुस्तक का उनका नाम है, और सीता एंड इलस्ट्रेटेड रामायण। इसके अतिरिक्त सर कुणाल चक्रवर्ती जेएनयू के बड़े प्रोफेसर हैं, इन्होंने भी अध्ययन किया है हिंदू पुराणों के ऊपर और कुछ तथाकथित बुद्धिजीवी हैं, तो इनको कैसे चैलेंज किया जा सकता है, यह मेरा प्रश्न है।
If at all there is a person, if they have some different school of thought, there is no need to really dismantle them or counter them or oppose them. So we have to do our work, and then they will do their work. See, people of different paths, they go it in different way. How effective we do is in our hands. If we keep on countering people who are against our philosophy, then we'll stop there itself. People will stop. It's like a kabaddi. So people will try to catch us, but we have to move on and touch the line. Then only we get a point. So we have to ignore all those people who are not conquering with us, and then just move forward.
So one way to go about it is what Anand ji just said. हम कबड्डी कर रहे हैं, कोई हमको पकड़ रहा है, फिर कैसे हम पहुंचे फिनिश लाइन तक, जाके लाइन को कैसे छुए, उन सबको कैसे हराए. That's one way of doing it. You keep doing your karma, you keep preaching Gita, teaching Gita, taking it out into the world, and someday they'll fall in line, or even if they don't fall in line, we go back to the karma siddhanta. शायद अभी वो ready नहीं है. Maybe they might have to take the next life or the next life. So that's one way of looking at it. The other way of doing it is we make content, keep making content, and we also intend to collaborate with all the big minds in the country today in Gita. Not only in the country, outside of our country also, there are so many great minds that have done a lot of adhyayan on Gita, and we will definitely collaborate with them, and we will come up with I would say, a foolproof content. Eventually that is all going to happen. All these narratives and all these distortions and biased ये जो बाहर ये लोग publish किया हुआ है, all these things will be demolished very soon. There will be, if one Devdutt Patnaik has been demolished, 10 others will take birth, for which our content needs to be very, very foolproof, and we are working on that.
So they are like the Rakt Beej,
Yes, that's a good word. Yes.
Let me confess that I have not studied Bhagavad Gita in its entirety. Bits and pieces only I have heard. Now, during your talk, you used the term idiots, and you said, you referred that 15 minutes episode and all that. So something flashed in my mind. Very recently, there is an MP from Karnataka. His name is Tejasvi Surya. He referred to a shloka in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, shloka number 63. So after that, I came and read that. I'm thoroughly confused. So let me read that out, and then you can, what it says. Iti te jnanamakyatam grihyad guhyad guhyataram maya vimrshayate desheshena yathechasi tatha kuru. Krishna says, I have explained the most secrets of whatever, this world, and now you do whatever you want, whatever way you want. The English translation given here is, thus I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully, and then do what you wish to do. So I feel, after all these things, suppose an idiot listens to all this Bhagavad Gita and all, he will still remain Kaurava, Duryodhana. So why Krishna is giving this freedom at the end to all of us? Because in this world there are so many irrational people. That's why, I'm at this age of mine, I've seen so much of life, still plenty of irrational people. And any amount of Bhagavad Gita or morals and philosophies, it doesn't matter, and they do what they want. So I'm totally confused. How do you explain this contradiction at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, after revealing so much of Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and all the yogas? How do you explain this?
Like this shloka recently in Andhra Pradesh, one ex-parliamentarian said that after Lord Krishna teaching Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, at the end he said, so I taught you Gita, I gave you Jnana, now you do whatever you want. So people can follow Christianity also. People can follow any Abrahamic religions also. People can follow anything, whatever they feel. If I feel to kill you, I can kill you. That is also a matam. Matam means whatever is born in somebody's mind, that's called matam. You follow any matam. So that great is Bhagavad Gita bolke. He told it openly on a public meeting. So Krishna is so liberal bolke. But when you see Bhagavad Gita, when you see the Adi Shankaracharya Bhashya of this sloka, he says, I've said various yogas. Actually it is only one yoga, but when we try to split one yoga into multiple, then he said Karma Yoga, then Jnana Yoga, and then Bhakti Yoga, which is, in between sadhana, and we call, Dhyana Yoga. that is meditative yoga, which comes majorly in chapter number 6. Bhakti yoga comes in majorly in chapter number 12. Then Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga keeps on coming. Every 10-15 shlokas, he just shuttles between these two. So it is only one yoga, but in the process of explaining, these are the 4 yogas which is said. That is Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Dhyana Yoga. To reach the ultimate, this shloka is telling Arjuna to reach the ultimate. You pick up anything, any one of these yogas and do whatever it is. He said you can go by bus to Delhi, you can go by flight to Delhi, you can go by train to Delhi, you can go by walking also to Delhi, by car to Delhi. You choose whatever you feel comfortable and whatever you feel interesting. This doesn't mean that you roll and go. You cannot roll and go. See, in whatever he said in this book, only from that you are supposed to pick from the options that he has given. So this he is telling, it is not like whatever you do, like whether you want to wage the war or don't wage the war, it is up to your wish. Bol ke nahi bol raha idhar. He is telling wage the war only. Here, waging the war option is not given here. He has decided that he'll wage the war. This is, you follow any yoga. See, generally women in this country or anywhere in the world, they follow Bhakti Yoga. If you take my wife, she does all those pujas right from 4:30 to 6 o'clock. She will do all things which I don't understand. She will talk to God and maybe give food like how mothers give food to their children. That is how they give food to Krishna and Shiva. They, they put some dress, they give some, bath also to God. They clean the God. They just feel that God, they treat, God like a child. Even in Tirupati, we see that, they put him on a swing and do that, all that, things. That is called Bhakti Yoga. And so some people like that. So this question, this option given by Krishna is asking Arjuna to pick any yoga. So that is how it is. I think I've clarified you this, sir.
Actually, I had not heard this interpretation. The people are using it. After all this, you do whatever you want to do.
No, yeah.
That's what confused me thoroughly. So thank you very much. I think that's the right interpretation of this shloka. Thank you very much. Right.
So the first question Ramakrishnan ji asks is not the karma reincarnation doctrine a unique attribute of Indian traditions? And how can this be termed universal? Many indigenous traditions do not have reincarnation or rebirth. For example, the old Egyptian religion, which was greatly preoccupied with death and the afterlife, focused on resurrection as with Osiris rather than rebirth.
Like when we say the reincarnation, when we are teaching Bhagavad Gita, we don't do comparative studies like how a few people do, like comparative religions. And, two people standing, quite opposite and then talking which is right. We see in many countries, one atheist will be standing on one side and then a person of other religion will be standing and then they'll be arguing and they'll be making the point and they'll have some audiences. Generally, when you want to take it in an absolute sense, in a more realistic sense, you cannot have an argument on the truth, on the on the absolute truth. You cannot take all religions and keep on dismantling other religions like how Adi Shankaracharya did. That is possible only with extremely divine beings. When the reincarnation comes, like how Adi Shankaracharya has come and how Madhyacharya has come and how other Jagat Gurus have come. So hardly for a few people that is possible where they debate with others. So the debating is done, to our knowledge, only by Adi Shankaracharya. When you see Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Swami Vivekananda, Ramana Maharshi, or many other Swamijis, what India has produced since thousands of years, there was never an argument, because you cannot argue or convince people on that. You have to do your job. Even if they argue, We cannot convince people who argue on religion, because in Bhagavad Gita, very clearly he says this God element cannot be found by Indriyas. It is Atindriya Shakti. You have to go beyond Indriyas, use your Sukshma Buddhi. That is what he says. Sukshma Buddhi, and then I think in chapter number 6, somewhere in the middle, you cannot get me through logic. You cannot get me with Indriyas. You have to have Sukshma Buddhi. So we have to do our job in a very subtle way. What I personally believe, because I've seen of 1,20,000 students where we have trained, 50% of the people belongs to other communities. What I've seen, interacting with all these people broadly, by birth everybody is same. By the brought up, they, their soul gets tainted. It is like mirror. It gets all rubbish things, and when the mirror is getting tainted, they cannot, it cannot reflect things. No. So all we have to do with this mirror is put some, Colin lotion and then clean that mirror in a very subtle way. If at all somebody is coming and arguing, prove me God, then we have to say, Namaskar, I am not here to prove that fellow that God is there. So if at all he comes to us and asks us, what could be this, what could be that, with an open mind, then basing on it, on his interest, we can talk for 10, 15 minutes, half an hour. If he feels logical after going home, after contemplating what we said, then he has to come again. So carefully we have to give this to people. This is not a debatable subject or a challenging subject. So I feel that we have to take that in a very subtle way. That's what I feel.
When you're comparing the reincarnation with the theories that have been put out by other cultures about afterlife and all that, first of all, truth is not dependent on any one person, any one culture believing it or not. Truth is just truth. So at the time when the stories about Osiris coming back to life, or even Jesus coming back to life, were put out, people, I would say, were still trying to make sense of what happened after death. So one question that really our ancients asked was, where do we come from and where are we going from here? And since we are talking about the afterlife here, that was a very important question that all cultures tried to answer. So there have been so many stories that have been told. Now we don't know. Here we are not debating the the authenticity of those stories, which is why I'm not using them. I'm not rubbishing them or trashing them, but they're stories. And when you look at reincarnation and resurrection, which has more evidence today? Empirical evidence. And from what we see now, reincarnation definitely has some evidence to it, because there has been so much research that's been done by a particular person in the West, and there are other people in the West that are catching up on this research, and there has been till yet good amount of evidence to reincarnation. So going back to our ancients, Indian ancestors, I would say Sanatana Dharma ancestors, put out this reincarnation thing, and some other cultures, ancients, put out the resurrection theory. So it comes down to which has more evidence today, and what is more logical, what is more scientific, and what sits right with whatever we have, whatever science we have today. So truth is not dependent on any cultures or any individual's belief in it. There was a time when the earth was thought to be flat, but it didn't change the fact that it has been a sphere all through. So it's just people's beliefs. Sooner or later, the truth will be revealed to all cultures.
See, when we have problems, when people have problems all over the world, when a satsang is accessible to them, like, we said one satsang for every 1 million population, like, one guru who will try to understand the problems of people and then who will try to tell the reason behind the solution. He will not show any miraculous solution. These people who have problems will go to others also. Will go to some, people of other faiths also. They will go to astrologers also. They will go to some numerologists also. They will go to some Vastu kind of things also, because every country has got their own blind belief systems. They go to 5, 6, 7 people, like, I'm facing this problem in my business or family or whatever it is. And if they have depression, they'll go to doctors also. Without knowing the root cause for depression, they will try to treat it externally with some chemicals, and then they will finally come to us. Of all these solutions which many people are giving, we believe strongly that with Gita, we can give the best solution. So take for the example, you have come, you had some problem, you go to 4 or 5 people. Finally, I believe strongly that I can give the best solution. I can stand, differently to others. Even others also will be thinking like that. So for that reason, I cannot sit at home not taking Gita. I strongly believe, I have got 100% conviction, this is the best solution, uncomparable solution for all human problems that we are facing. So, and it will be finally left to the person who is having problem to get attracted to any of this. So I think there we can stand out in logic, as Estherji said. This is more rational, this is more logical. That's what we feel. But that should be decided by the person who came to us with the problem.
Thank you, Anandji and Estherji. So Ramakrishnan-ji has 1 or 2 more questions, which I know you've partly answered, but I'll still put this across because this is pertinent with regards to the project. So Ramakrishnan-ji says that the talk of war is less palatable, to put it mildly, compared to the talk of love by missionaries. Missionaries want to convert people because they love them and want to save them from hell. So they have this hate the sin and not the sinner policy. And so we should embrace them and try to reform them and not kill them, as they put it. So one is your views on that. Second question is also kind of related. So he says that those who are waiting in their graves to be resurrected are having to wait because others are resistant to conversion, thereby preventing the complete conversion of the world, which is when the second coming will take place. So these 2 questions vis-a-vis the missionaries kind of thing to the Gita.
See, love your enemy. I'll give the second question to Estherji. The first question I wanted to answer, and maybe later she can add something to that. Coming to, these people telling love your enemy, we have made some films on that, from our sister organizations. I'll tell an example. One guy comes to a pastor and say, Pastor, I want that, kshama. And then pastor will ask him, yeah, God will excuse you. And then he says, Pastor Ji, I've done a great mistake. Will God excuse me? He'll say, yes, God has got a capacity of excusing everything. Then he says, he starts, telling, but Pastor Ji, I've done a ghora crime kiya maine, which is unexcusable. So will your God has the capacity of excusing unexcusable thing? He says, yes, he's having a big heart, huge heart. Samudra jaisa mahan heart hai inko. That's what he will tell. And slowly he will tell the pastor, Pastor Ji, I was going on the road. I felt thirsty. I stopped at one house. I went inside and I asked some water. And then a young lady came and gave water to me. So she was beautiful. So I got, attracted. Then I did something to her. And then she told me, wait there. So then this pastor will tell, oh, you did such a great crime. Then this boy will tell, God will not excuse me. No. He will excuse you. He's having a big heart. He will excuse you. Bolke, he will do the prayer. Oh God, excuse this boy. He has done some nonsense, asking water. Please excuse him. He will tell. And he will tell, Pastor Ji, I did something more. I killed her. I tried to kill her. And then she said, she's a daughter of a pastor working in this church. She is a daughter of the pastor working in this church. So I came. Then this pastor will get angry. And then he will take a knife, which is there at the church, and he will try to kill this fellow. And then this question will come from the boy. Pastor Ji, you said Jesus is great. He is loving. Excuse the enemy. Why are you, trying to kill me? You are a pastor. You are a God man teaching this book for 40, 50 years with a lot of shaking in your body. Why are you killing me? You said God has the capacity of excusing idiots. Now, where is that Kshama when it comes to your daughter? Why are you just behaving like this? Then he will dismantle, with this question, he tells, I made a drama, Pastor Ji, that your theory, what you are talking, excuse enemies and idiots, will not come, will not be, holding good when it comes to your family, when it comes to your daughters. So understand that it is a stupid theory. So lot of people who are into Sanatana Dharma are making short films like this, and they are trying to dismantle. Remember, YouTube is there, internet is there. Everybody started making films. Earlier, film people are different, film producers, cameramen are different. Right now, everybody is a cameraman. Everybody can make any, short films. So this is encouraging the truth. This is going to help, expose the fraudulent theories. Then definitely we will dismantle all those theories who say love your enemy. It is impossible theory. It is not even primitive. It is a very insane, stupid, barbaric theory. You cannot excuse people who are cannibals. So I think the second question, when it comes to resurrection and all, I think maybe Estherji has to answer that question. They're waiting for all the people to get converted.
So actually in Matthew 24:34, if I'm quoting it right, it's been a long time since I opened my Bible. I should be going back to it. So, but from what I remember, it's Matthew 24:34 says that Jesus was going to return in that same generation that he was talking to. That didn't happen. Now there have been several interpretations saying that that generation is in sense of timelessness. That generation is spoken of in the sense of timeless way. It's a spiritual way of saying I don't know what. So Jesus has not returned in that generation, and Jesus has not returned so far. So he never said, nowhere it says that until everybody converts, I'm going to, I'm not going to come. I didn't see any explicit verse to this effect, but he explicitly said that he was going to return in the same generation. So now we are talking about evidence again. Where is the evidence? Where is the evidence to the fact that he is going to come, or where is the evidence to even heaven, people going to heaven? I mean, I don't see that evidence. It's been 2000 years. People are still waiting for his imminent return. And elsewhere it says that only 144,000 people are going to heaven. Again, there have been several interpretations to that also. So here we are just talking about just empty words and not much evidence to it, and not much logic to back it.
Thank you, Esther ji, and thank you, Anand ji. And in fact, there's no evidence, I think, even for the existence of Jesus in the first place.
Right. I didn't want to go there since I just wanted to be more objective.
So I may look a bit pessimistic, but I'm not. In India, we got a lot of gurus, a lot of ashrams. They have globalized many aspects of Hinduism, including the summary of Gita throughout the world. But they failed to attract the huge masses of India. Of course, they have millions of fanfare, but they failed to make any social revolution. And according to me, there's hardly 0.1% of Abrahamic religion being attracted towards those gurus or ashrams. So, what I am trying to say is that what is your USP, the unique selling proposition as a global Gita project? What are you going to, how you are going to convince the people of other faith? Of course, you have a huge challenge of convincing our own faith, but again, how we are going to convince the other faith? What are the USPs? Because these lot of gurus, according to me, they have already diluted the ideology of the summary of Hinduism, the unique essence of Hinduism to other faith by too much of secularization. And at the end of the day, Abrahamic religions are going to say, oh, okay, whatever you are saying, you are talking about Gita, we also have it in our own Quran, our own Bible. Oh, okay, we also know it. In fact, we got more than this, and they are going to convince you about their own, the religion. So, what are our USPs? That's my question.
It's a very, very extremely tough question. In fact, because for the mud and darkness that we have put since 5,000 years, and to answer that in a very straight way and in a convincing way, I can definitely tell that it is impossible to convince the gentleman who has questioned this, but I'll try to throw some light on that. The way we are taking this is not like Bhagavad Gita. There is no Bhagavad Gita anywhere. There is no Lord Krishna anywhere. As I said, there is no word by name Satsang also anywhere. Actually, we are calling Satsang. It is purely a yoga center, and people will be doing yoga. And, like how, we do this physical yoga. And when people come to yoga, it is, something concerned with body and mind. And then they do this, way of sitting in a meditative posture. That means that is 1% acceptance of the dharma, 1%, or at least a 0.1%. They sit like this, na? And then at least before starting the yoga, that is physical yoga, let us call that as a gym or exercises. They try to do, at least they fold their hands like this, na? At least. Even this is considered as a religion. Unfortunately, 2 hands are there. This is a religion. Even this is a religion now. Because when we close like this, some people open like this, and some people do something. So every symbol, every act has unfortunately become a religion. So when we teach yoga, people who come and join yoga, there is a lot of craze on yoga worldwide, because they should have some stable mind and all. They do like this, they do like this. For them, along with these yoga classes, we give a small capsule of karma yoga in a very, in a very small way. When we try to teach that as a religion, when I say a girl at the age of 20, 22, I love you, in my class, she will definitely say, get lost. I will not say I love you. I will not say that, I want to marry you or I want to take you for a date. No. I will do something else, like, help her in, education or whatever it is, XYZ. And have only that friendship, only that rapport with them, where I feel that somewhere down the line, she has to come with a proposal that, with the kind of behavior I exhibit for about 6 months or 1 year, she has to have that feeling, I should marry this guy. When I tell on the first day or, after 1 week after, friendship, then she will tell, oh, this friendship is because of this. So, this is a trap. So when coming to people of same ethnicity, same language, or, let us say same caste or whatever it is, when the girl herself is mistaking the love of this guy, so definitely same thing will happen if I take it as a religion. They will ask every question what this gentleman, Mr. Shashi, has asked. Definitely. So it is a yoga where we give a very small capsule without telling anything about God or Lord or whatever it is. A very few. See, let us say for children, we have a sloka, dhyayate vishayan punsaha, sangaste shupajayate. So if you have, if you have attraction towards material objects, you'll get attachment to that. If you have attachment, you'll get desire to achieve it. If you get desires, then if you don't get it, you'll get, krodha. And from, krodha, you will get, sammoha. And from sammoham, you get buddhinasha. And from buddhinasha, you get, completely collapsed, pranashyati. So we tell, if your son is anxious to have cell phone always, that, desire to have a cell phone, starting of having a cell phone, it will finally lead to pranashyati. It will lead to his collapse. So somewhere we tell a few shloka how to raise their child, how to live with their husband. As I said, we have some 5, identified 5 basic services. Life skills training with Gita, that is general life skills. Family counseling with Gita. We will not say with Gita there, but I'm just making my point. Make your child a go-getter with Gita. Handling depression with Gita. Celebrating old age with Gita. These are free services at the satsangs. And paid services are yoga and meditation, diet and weight loss, and then Ayurveda online services. Some basic part of astrology, because people will get attracted to astrology, not in the core sense, in a scientific sense. And then gym and fitness club. So these are the paid services. So we give a small sweet, small taste, and then they have to come back to us. When we give a very small sample of a sweet, leave them without telling anything, then we can avoid these questions, whatever Mr. Shashi has asked. We are not presenting it, the whole book completely. Along with yoga, certain aspects of their counseling will be freely given, quoting a few shlokas, not in Sanskrit, in their own local language. When we again read Sanskrit, again read Gita, then it will lead to chaos. It will be a normal printed small booklet where we will give. And then I think they have to come to us asking, I need this. Please teach me something more. Then only we can take it completely. So it is a 2-stage or 3-stage. It is like we got vaccinated recently, first dose, second dose, and a booster dose. Booster dose is completely like religious. First dose, little, not as religion at all. It is just taken as a moral science. Second dose will be more than that. And then the booster dose.
So, Shashiji, you use the word convince. So here we are not trying to convince anybody or convert anybody. So convincing leads to conversion. So we are not trying to convince anybody. We are not out to convert anybody. Now I'll put this in a context with an analogy. Let's say a person has iPhone 6 and now what is running in iPhone 12. So your goal is to make him use iPhone 12 and abandon iPhone 6. What we will do is, what Gita University intends to do is, tell him to retain his iPhone 6, but also expose him to iPhone 12. What do you think the person is going to do sooner or later? When he tastes what benefits iPhone 12 has, he will automatically abandon iPhone 6 without us having to tell him that iPhone 6 is not what should be used by him. So we don't convince him that iPhone 6 is bad. We don't try to convert him to iPhone 12. We just give him a taste of iPhone 12. Allow him to use it. We'll guide him through using it, getting the maximum benefits, using all its features and all that. And automatically a day will come when he will abandon iPhone 6 and take iPhone 12 into his life. He will start using iPhone 12. So this is the exact approach we would like to take. You do not have to abandon Christianity. We are not saying that. You do not have to abandon Islam. It's okay. If it works for you, go ahead with it. Probably it will make you a better Christian. It will make you a better Muslim. you will shed that intentions of trying to convert the other person. The Dominion theology that Christians go around with, saying that we have to convert everybody, otherwise Jesus is not going to return, those layers will be shed automatically. So that is how you create harmonious societies. Everybody follows their faiths within the four walls of their homes or places of worship. As I always say, we do not have problem with people practicing their faith. My only problem is when you go to your neighbor and tell him, criticize his faith, criticize his practices, and tell that your practices are better than his, and which is why you should convert. I have a problem with that attitude of Abrahamic religions, that attitude of Christianity. So if everybody is practicing their faith in the four walls of their homes and places of worship, harmonious societies are automatically built. So we will present iPhone 12 and you will automatically shed iPhone 6. That is our approach.
So I told one love story, you told one iPhone story. I think that answers the question. Okay.
Yes.
So it's again, just now Esther ji has more or less she has answered it. My question is, yesterday I heard Venkat talking about Grama Devata concept. That is going to the last rung of our society and reviving the Grama Devata concept. And that's how the last rung of the lowest rung of our society is kept together through the Grama Devata concept and worship and mixing with them, and thereby preventing the missionaries encroaching into that area, because that is the weakest link. That's what is happening in Andhra Pradesh. So therefore, this Bhagavad Gita approach which Ishtarji and Reddy ji are trying appears to be a bit elitist at that level. So just now she said that we are not saying anything, and Christians, you be a better Christian, you be a better Muslim. Will it work with these missionaries? I don't think it will ever work. And if that works, Christianity and Islam will collapse. It's gone. It won't survive. That is their USP.
Okay, I think, what we haven't spoken of so far is about reaching the grassroots level also. That is also part of the project of Gita University. Anandji, would you like to talk about the Gita Bhavans project at the grassroots level?
Yeah, sure. When you see the project of Gita University, when I say creating one guru for every 1 million population, this is outside India. The entire project, what I spoke so far, is only outside India. For India, you all know that more than 6.48 lakh villages are there in India. When you take the most populous villages, leaving off the villages which are less than 2,000 population or whatsoever, we may have 4 to 5 lakh villages. Let us say 5 lakh villages are there in India. So we are proposing a project for the government. This is not to do anything with Gita University. We are going to request the government to build one community hall in a village by name Gita Bhavan, where some 100 people can sit and then listen to the lectures of Bhagavad Gita. This Gita Bhavan is a community hall for SC, STs and most economically backward classes, which is built exclusively for them, which will be costing, a fabricated structure will be costing, if at all land is given by the state governments from the Devadaya Shaka. So it will be costing 20 lakh rupees, to its basic cost. And, when we see 5 lakh villages into 20 lakh rupees, it will be costing 1 lakh crore rupees. And if the central government can sanction 10,000 crores every year, they can build, 1 lakh Gita Bhavans, 50,000 Gita Bhavans every year. Then we are going to take 1% from the scheduled caste and, scheduled tribe community, or, any one MBC community. We are going to give them, training or, the skills on Bhagavad Gita. where this person will be a preacher there, where he will teach the scheduled caste students in the Gita Bhavan. In the daytime, this Gita Bhavan will be acting as a community hall for the SC, ST and MBC, Hindu people, where they can have some functions of marriages or whatsoever in the daytime. In the evenings, every day for 1.5 hours, they will teach Bhagavad Gita to their children and also every Sunday to the elders. On every Sunday, when this Gita Bhavan has at least for 1-2 hours, some discourses on Bhagavad Gita or on spirituality, where this guru will try to address the problems these people are facing in normal life. If somebody is there to address their problems, like how others are addressing in a wrong way, in a deceptive way, if we can tell them the true reasons for our suffering in a very simplest way from Gita Bhavans, that is where we can stop people from getting deceived by fake pastors or whoever it is. So this is a project we can see in the last pages of our Gita University project. This is exclusively for India, where we say 5 lakh Gita Bhavans save Indian villages from the cunning pastors, where they come and say, you believe in Jesus, no cancer, no suffering, everything. So I don't know how these people get admitted in hospitals. I just get surprised. They say hospitals are not required, doctors are not required. Then every hospital should keep a board. These people are not permitted because there is a Vaidyanathan there, a big doctor there. If you believe, if you say everything is cured, I don't know why some people shamelessly go to hospitals. So this is a project for India, Gita Bhavans, which we are going to present to the central government in the coming 3 or 4 months, not immediately, to save Indian villages.
Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, to some extent, because that's a gigantic task you are envisaging. Because
Yes.
I'm looking at Ramakrishna Mission and Chinmaya Mission. They have not made any headway.
So, you have any other questions? Please feel free to ask us directly on our phone through our phone numbers, our WhatsApp, or you just email to us. We'll be very happy to answer those questions for you.
So Esther ji and Anand ji, one last pitch you want to make to the audience who will be watching this video, how to support Gita University.
I have some problem with the people who are on the side of Sanatana Dharma. When we propose something, on WhatsApp or emails or whatever it is, when we say support us, even people having hundreds of crores of rupees, who happen to be my friends also, when we say we are doing Valmiki Ramayana with meanings, all 24,000 slokas, because we have that as a part of our digital university content, making Ramayana. When we say Bhagavad Gita is the theory part, we feel that the story of Ram is a practical part of it. When you say what is Dharma, who has done that Dharma Anushtana in this world, who followed Bhagavad Gita, how can you live, how can you stick to Dharma despite of many troubles and many challenges? Is it possible? So we have one person, Lord Rama, who has lived to what has been taught in Vedas. So when we are trying to make this Valmiki Ramayana, for the first time in the world in English, Hindi, Telugu, Tamil and Kannada, digitizing all the 24,000 shlokas with meanings for the first time in the world, when we are asking for sponsorship of 12,000 rupees per sarga, when we share it, remember to rich people, they say thumbs up, all the best, you are doing a great job, wish you success. This is absolutely nonsensical. It is not like I am agitated that they are not supporting this project. No. For any organization, as a matter of fact, my monthly donation may 40,000-50,000 rupees goes to various Hindu organizations every month in the little money, whatever I have. So I never put thumbs up wish you success. Who want your wishes? Are you equal to Vishnu or Shiva to really wish, and that wish will come automatically like light from your hand and materialize? So we people are so passive. We just forward that. We just forward. Good morning, good evening, happy Holi, happy Pongal, and every day we say good morning, good morning, good morning. Who wants good morning? It's a waste of time. So instead of wasting the time and getting into a stage of repeating Kashmir kind of things in other areas, already 90% of the world is lost. The final part of the trunk is balance. So somehow we have to save this peaceful philosophy, this dharma. Every Hindu, whoever can afford even 1 rupee to any amount, even 1 rupee every month, should support any organization, not only Gita University, any organization, whoever they feel is doing the job which is close to their heart. Everybody who is born in this Sanatana Dharma should at least have the courtesy of donating 1 rupee every month if they want to save this Dharma. So, they should not eat, sleep. At least 1 rupee. At least 1 rupee they should be able to contribute. So, this is the kind of request I have for all the people. If good don't come together, then we don't have the right to scream. Stop screaming. Think what we can do. We are always screaming that, something is happening to us. What is the action that, we are resorting to? We are just talking and, we are just WhatsApping. Something danger is going to come to us. Okay, danger is coming. What is that you're doing? Nothing. So I want all people to be active. That is the only request.